Okay, well, welcome everyone. I'm Tony Jones, Chief Exec of One Nucleus, the not-for-profit life science membership group based out of Cambridge in the UK. And I'm delighted today I'm going to be joined by Michael O'Kane and Tushar Madani from CoolReach. Now, I think everybody in these membership groups, we talk about and showcase great science, great investment deals. But fundamentally, it's always been a belief of One Nucleus that the whole ecosystem has to work if we're truly going to convert great science into better patient outcomes. And part of that ecosystem is moving things around. We don't talk much about logistics quite often. We just assume it's going to happen. But actually, when it comes down to practically, how do I move my samples around, get clinical trials done, get products to patients, it's down to logistics. And it's that hidden giant in the background quite often that people think, oh, that'll work, until it doesn't. So I'm delighted today to have a conversation with Michael and Tushar, because maybe you can give us some insight into some of the ways that how you think about it from an expert perspective, as opposed to maybe how some of your clients are thinking about it and how you engage to help them on their journey. But over to you to introduce yourselves and a bit about CoolReach.
Yep, my name is Tushar Madani. I'm the founder and CEO of CoolReach. The services that we offer is more like personalized services for each client. So you have different clients and we can provide different personalized services catered to them rather than, we go with one solution that this is what we do and that's it, you're going to have to use it. But with us is we provide different solutions to different clients for the different shipments.
Well, I guess that's quite important, as you're saying, because it strikes me whenever I've worked with any companies in this sector and in research, no two things are ever the same.
Yes.
They're always different. But
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no. So thank you, Tony, for the invitation for this brilliant discussion call. So as Tushar said, yes, we're offering different solutions to different types of companies. I suppose to elaborate on that, we've both worked in the industry extensively. So as you will know from previous Connect, I've worked for other companies in the space. So I have 15 years in total in the supply chain of clinical to commercial type movement. So whether that's from an academic group where there's a preclinical concept and an assay, development of a molecule, then into the clinical trial phases, and then into commercial and cell and gene. So over 15 years, I've seen many types of shipments. And I guess, as Tushar has alluded to, we offer different solutions because every shipment is different. And not one or two can be, I mean, they might be similar in terms of packaging, but what's inside will differ from every customer we're connected to because it is their precious concept and development plan, business plan, strategic plan to bring a material to market on behalf of patients, whether they're human. And we've also been involved in veterinary medicine. So we have an awareness of that. So CoolReach has come to the market to bring the experience that we have gained over, I mean, my 15 years in the industry, and Tushar is significantly similar to that and a little bit more, where we have learned over the years what works. And my conclusion part is, what is the what if? And what if something goes wrong? Or what if you haven't thought about how your material will adapt and will sustain itself as it moves? And the movement part and logistics, it may sound simple, right? The concept of putting a material in a packaging unit and giving it to a vehicle driver, bringing it to another provider, be it a sea shipment team or an air shipment team, all of those parts of the milestones of that material. The what if part is a huge element of what we look at in terms of, have we thought about the what if plans, the what if contingencies? Because ultimately, if those what ifs aren't looked at and assessed, and we look at the macro environment of what obstacles are there. I mean, we've had Brexit, and we're having challenges in other parts of the world, as we well know. So every day in shipping and what we do, there will be that big question: what if this isn't available? And it's speaking to the companies, the brilliant companies that are members of One Nucleus that we've met with the likes of Genesis and other events that One Nucleus hold. Is those conversations are great because people are listening to what we're saying, but then we're also listening to everybody in terms of what they need to see.
And I think that sort of conjuring up the what if sometimes in people's minds is really where the thought pays back later, because it's one of those things that inevitably with most things in life, things go wrong now and again, but it's knowing in a controlled way what you're going to do when they are going wrong. And knowing someone behind you with that safety net or has done this a thousand times before is there to help you pick up the pieces sometimes and rectify it. But I'm just thinking in terms of, we see lots of changes going on in the way we develop therapeutics, the types of therapeutics and products. What do you think have been the biggest changes in the logistics space over the last 5 years, and how have you adapted to those?
So the biggest changes I can see in this industry is technology. So now, yes, there are big players. They might be using technologies, different type of technologies for this, to send the shipments all over the world. With us is we are into technology as well. So we are coming out with our portal, which will give you instant quotes, where you can track and trace your shipments. Plus, we use different type of data loggers or devices. Some of them are basic, some of them are most advanced, which are 5G. You can track your shipment from A to B point without any problems. You can monitor your temperature as well from that inside the package. And plus, compliance plus quality. So everything is changing, but we are adapting those changing to make sure that CoolReach is a bit par to the big logistics company. And, in our unique way, we can present ourselves in the market.
And I think those things, though, the tracking, the tracing, the temperature tracking as well with that, I guess it also ties into the change in regulatory environment that our companies are experiencing now, really, in terms of where are you shipping it to globally, and what does your safety label say? So I guess you can help them address that in a compliance way as well.
Yes.
And then, I mean, again, Tushar, you touched upon there the large players and the way CoolReach tailors its approach on a case-by-case almost basis. A lot of the life science companies we work with, and indeed the sector's dominated by the SME, highly innovative individuals within this. And I guess some of that is, I'm intrigued from what I've heard already from some of your clients, but also talking to you guys. How do you take your approach with CoolReach? How do you look at the SME sector and how to deal best with their needs and changing needs?
With the SMEs, we are here to help them, from filling up the invoices or packing list. We do provide free services to them to go into their facilities, train their staff, or telling them what is the compliance, what paperwork you require for particular shipment or to particular country. We do train them, and plus we do train them with the packaging, how to make those packaging. SOPs and everything. If SMEs requires that, we will provide that. Like big companies, some does, some don't, but that's our. We like to share our knowledge to the company to make their shipment process smoother to sending anywhere in the world.
And I guess that's the impression I've been getting. Michael, maybe you'd want to add some more to that, but it's that way that CoolReach build trust. It's that engagement of helping them solve, almost training, as you touched upon there, Tushar. I think it's guiding them through a process maybe they've never done before.
Yeah, no, I think as Tushar has said, it's bringing our expertise to the companies we're involved in. So, one of the big activities we had in 2024 where we had Breakfast Connect presentations across many of the science parks, that you're well connected to, obviously, Tony, from One Nucleus, likes of Oxford Science Park, Babraham, Chesterford, Milton Park, Cambridge Research Park, Cambridge Science Park. And then in London, we had events in the likes of the Francis Crick. And they all helped build us details and information to present a survey to market. So the conversations in presenting the challenges of shipping to the biotech companies within those science parks, within those fantastic research centers of excellence. And what was brilliant to see was that the questions we were putting to people were coming back in very detailed answers around yes, and we need to ship better, and we need to understand the sustainability and implications of what we're moving, the materials that are being used to use present solutions for those shipments. And the technology part, I mean, that's, as we know, it's an ever-changing horizon. There's always going to be advancements, and it's happening quickly. Tech and tracking and key performance indicators and metrics, and they're all very important to the companies we're working with because they have to have that for protocols, for approval as they move along the clinical life cycle. So with the coffee training events we held across September in all of those science parks, and then we brought it to again One Nucleus when we met with you with Genesis in early December. And the survey then we've had going since then, and it's actually still live, and people can find that on our company website and our LinkedIn profiles and our LinkedIn page, where the survey has shown that there's an appetite to see a company like CoolReach in the market with our expertise, with our knowledge base, and we're willing to share. Like this is a two-way conversation, like we're having today, and we're willing to share that information because quite often in previous roles, Tushar and I have seen it, a company who has a clinical trial or one shipment, and it's very important. They'll ask a question to a World Courier, a Markin, a BioCare, or a QuickStat, a CryoPDP, and they may find some radio silence because the person they've asked the question to can't get an answer internally because somebody will say, that's not my domain. And here at CoolReach, we've gathered all of our knowledge and we present that and saying, we have no issues telling you how to understand importer of record, HS codes, and that could be, quite difficult to understand as you dive into the index and the subcategories. But we'll guide people on that because we understand if we help you with how to figure out the shipment material, paperwork, documentation requirements for regulatory compliance, for shipping into the US or shipping into Asia, or maybe you're shipping to Africa. And by giving that knowledge part, we're willing to say, this is what you need. This isn't probably what we've been asked, but we'll give you additional information because it helps to make that shipment happen. And other companies may say, we can make it happen, and they have different ways of approaching it. We will go to make it happen because the network we're providing, the data we're providing speaks to rapid response. And therefore, the survey has really been brilliant for us to see people saying, yes, as a UK entity, we have challenges quite simply going into the EU or closer to shore to Ireland, or then into the US. And so helping people understand those regulatory obstacles, trade, customs challenges, and they're the parts that can be irritable for a person in a company, whether they're in a university team or a biotech group in a research park or a larger company. And so we're very trustworthy in that sense where we're transparent. We provide the data because it means the shipment will go as we want it to go. Because we don't want to have the phone call saying, I'm missing a document, customs declaration. You never told me I needed that. Well, actually, we'll make sure you've ticked all those boxes. And so when we're having conversations at Genesis and your events with people like we met, Tushar met last week in Canary Wharf with the Catapult event, and it's given that sense of, yes, the shipping is there. We can bring it from A to B, but we add on the layers and that give people peace of mind. So things that happen in the background, like going to an airline shed, we know the airline shed teams directly, so there's smoothness and there's quickness, and so turnaround time, lane mapping, giving people a sense of purpose that we can deliver within 24 hours from here to Europe or vice versa or further afield, provided everybody's on board. We will bring in the shipper, our teams, the recipient. We might bring in a brokerage team. We might bring in a trade customs person out of the FDA, all sitting on a call to say this shipment is important, right? It mightn't be important to the airline, to the driver, to the vehicle group, but everybody gets a sense of purpose. And so sometimes we can overtalk the technology and we can overtalk the packaging and the temperature, readings and the logins, but it's the background human impacts. When we're looking at saying we'll provide you the additional information to ship. So when we go to ship live, everybody's sitting, on a mobile app or at their laptop saying, I can click onto that portal and everything's going okay. Of course, it can happen where there'll be delays, but again, it's the what if it happens. Who is the backup person? And where is that vehicle in terms of geo ring mapping? Where's the nearest breakdown assistance support for that vehicle? If it's sitting on a motorway in Germany, it can happen. And then who's going to make the call to understand that vehicle can be replaced, and the driver can be safely brought to a secure area with the material. And so there are so many scenarios that can happen. And that's where the expertise of CoolReach differs, because we won't just take an email or a phone call and say we'll be back to you and have radio silence. Our teams are rapid response, and that's what people are liking about CoolReach, because we bring the knowledge and we're willing to share it, and because it makes good business sense. And so people we've spoken to at companies attending your events, they've been impressed by that, and we're seeing meetings and we're seeing activity from that. But obviously with the call today, yeah, we're looking forward to having more conversations.
And I think that these are really key points, because everyone can only be an expert in so many things, and it's almost like you worry about the logistics so that the scientist or the clinical ops person doesn't have to. That's the domain you provide the reassurance around. And it's interesting, listening to the depth of experience within CoolReach with you guys. Equally as a depth of experience, sometimes people have moved within the industry or still with the same companies, but of course the challenges change. So just on that point, looking forward a bit, what do you think the biggest challenges on the horizon are for our sector in terms of logistics?
I think the biggest challenge will be the cost. Rapidly is going up, your fuel is going up, packaging, everything else is going up. So I think it mostly will be cost. And with US is coming out with new compliance, new tariffs for the countries. So we just have to wait and see what exactly they're coming out with. And we can, we'll make sure that we can overcome those challenges. But I think the mostly will be the cost with the packaging, data loggers, fuel surge, drivers, anything. It will be the cost.
Yeah, I think to add, we touched on it earlier when we were connecting for this call about, the market itself, the macro, horizon of who are the players. Like, so as you know, there are the pure logistics companies. I've mentioned some of the companies like World Courier and Markin and Biocar, PDP and CoolReach, and then how we interplay with the larger CRO group. So, there are various types of companies in that arena, and then the sponsors directly, as you've touched on, the mid-sized biotech teams. And then there's the research groups that are involved in cell and gene, advanced therapy, manufacturing, and in groups like AMC in the UK. So there's a lot of collaborators, there's a lot of alliances, and it's where the specialty logistics companies fit into that. And because there are other players, there are larger integrator transport companies who have hovered around looking at the clinical space, right? So there's bigger, the basic like the TNTs, the FedExes, the UPS, DHLs have have assessed this market, and they will, aim to put their hand up and advise they can support shipping material in a temperature sensitive, time critical way. But when it really gets down to the nitty gritty of complex shipments, there's often failure, there's often finger pointing, and there's often concerns with the actual person who have chosen those companies, and will often say, oh gosh, I picked a larger company with on the premise that, because of their size and scale and what they were offering price wise, was a lot more attractive initially, if by picking them. But then we've had failures, and the shipments have gone missing, or they've lost their temperature performance. So specialty teams like CoolReach, it's been able to reinstate the mindset to companies that you need a specialty team for specialty type shipments. And you cannot take the risk and take that gamble to put those materials into networks like that, where there's consolidated movements, there's consolidated shipment activity. So you're jeopardizing the material. It's the volatility of it can be threatened because it is complex and it's temperature critical, and it will be impacted if the stability isn't kept as it's needed to be. So specialty shipping teams and logistics providers, what we're doing is still stacking up as important. Obviously, not every shipment is going to go through a specialty carrier like CoolReach, because there might be more more ambient settings that allow it to move in a non-specialty way. But the beauty of CoolReach is that we have a network where we can plug into various conditions of shipping. So basic can be done, or high specialty temperature shipping can also be done. And so with our expertise, with the 40 combined years of experience, not only what you see in front of you on the screen, but in our leadership group, and we can find very good solutions where there is cost savings as needed, provided it makes business sense for all concerned.
And I think that's the thing. It's everything around logistics for me, looking at this, it makes good business sense to do the right things from the word go, and not try and find a remedial solution to things which you could have predicted were coming if you've done this 1,000 times before. I'm just going to, it's such an array of complex issues to deal with. But, in terms of CoolReach as a company, if I was to ask you for 3 words you'd like people to think of when they think of CoolReach, what would they be?
Trust, expertise, experience, and disruptor.
Yeah, I mean, definitely trust. I mean, it's like, and in all the years that I'm in this space, Tony, as you'll know, it's when shipments go bad that people will look at you closely and look at you under the microscope. So that trust part is so crucial. We've all had experience of bad shipments, but it's the trust in how you fix them. And that's what's made me feel so proud to be part of CoolReach, because Tushar has that in his DNA and his mindset. And that's why we're the formidable team that we are in terms of what we're presenting, because it's the trust that he has with me, I have with him, with other members of our team, like our colleague Gani in our office here in London, and many others across our network and group. It's the trust that we bring. The experience, the expertise, it's something that we've cultivated, we've worked on in our careers so far, and that's coming across when we're involved in shipments. And naturally, as a new player, a new entrant to the market, there are people looking at the name and looking at the brand and understanding how we fit into the life science environment and how we fit into the life science supply chain model, against those that are maybe longer standing. Maybe some of them have 50, 40 years of activity in terms of being in the market. But there is transitional change happening. There have been mergers that have gone badly with some of the companies that are there. There's been pain points, there's been service failures, there's been many issues. But people will regroup, and those companies are there, and we're now in that market. And it is a competitive market, and not just from a UK perspective, but on a global level. but we know our network, our experience is there, and we're seeing, you know, good conversations and good activity in working with CoolReach based on, as Tushar said, the trust, the expertise and experience. And yes, as a disruptor in the industry with the imminent arrival of a instant quote portal, which is a complete game changer, and our tracking systems as well. We're speaking to the parts of the industry people are interested in hearing about, and developing further.
Excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to both of you this morning, and I've always felt that from bench to patient is a very long journey. You guys have described the way that you do this long journey in quite a cool way, actually, in building teams around you. So thanks for sharing your thoughts and insights around logistics generally, but CoolReach in particular. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tony.
Thank you, Tony.